What are you doing? What were you thinking? You know, these are questions you want to ask when you're building something. And why are you giving your energy and effort to that? Should you even be helping with that? Just because somebody has a need doesn't mean you're called to fill it. Hey, we're talking about building projects. If there could be a sign over your head and mine in the spirit, it probably would say under construction or work in progress. Listen, construction and progress are good words. They're not bad words, they're good works. But don't stop progressing. Don't stop letting God construct you and destruct whatever He has to do inside of you so that He can build you to be the person He has called you to be. Nehemiah was in a building project. Boy, was it a building project. And the enemy came around. Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 1 through 4 says, Now it happened when Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies, that's plural, it says, heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that there were no breaks or gaps left in it, though at that time I had not hung the doors in the gate, that Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, saying, Come, let us meet together among the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me harm. So I sent messengers to them saying, I'm doing a great work so I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? But they sent me this message 4 times, and I answered them in the same manner. Listen, just because somebody's doing something doesn't mean you're called to help them. Let me say that again, because we have this sense of Christianity where we think we should help everybody. Just because somebody is doing something doesn't mean you are called to help them. The Bible uses a phrase called co-laborers. 1 Corinthians 3:9 says, For we are co-workers or co-laborers in God's service. You are God's field, God's building. Just because something is a godly thing to do doesn't mean it's your God-assigned thing to do. Oh my goodness. You're not called to feed every puppy. You're not called to give everybody $1. You're not, I hear some of y'all like, well, what about what? Listen, you got to walk in wisdom in this world. Even Jesus didn't heal everybody when He went to a village. So Nehemiah's enemies wanted to call a meeting of togetherness. Togetherness, because they said, Come, let us get together. In verse 2, Come, let us get together among the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me harm. Not everyone that is initially good to you is necessarily good for you. Just because somebody is nice doesn't mean that they're actually called to be your friend or for you to even connect with them. Listen, I'm telling you, the enemy is subtle. And I don't want to teach you to walk paranoid, but I do want to teach you to walk empowered and in wisdom in the name. Sometimes the people you have to cut off may even be related to you. So, well, that'll be for another lesson. But let me tell you something. If you're going to follow Jesus, boy, do we need relationship clarity when we're building in our life. These were not co-laborers that were asking him, hey, come, let's get together, this little fake meeting of togetherness. They were sent to distract and destroy Nehemiah. You have to recognize that the enemy is sent to distract and destroy what you're building. And let me tell you something, it can be frustrating when you're building with people who are destructive and you're trying to construct. The real bad people, they don't leave you. The real bad people in your life stick around to see you get destroyed. My goodness. Number 2, premeditated. Nehemiah 6:2 said, but they thought to do me harm. See, Nehemiah had premeditated to get the walls rebuilt. His enemies had premeditated to tear him down. You see, your enemy wants to tear you down. If he can tear you down your thinking, he can tear down your person, and he can tear down your project. You've been working too long. Don't let the enemy tear you down. He wants to tear down your finances, your family, your ministry, your business, your heart. But when he tears your mind, he tears everything down about you. You can whip it in the checkbook if you can whip it in your mind. You can address it in the natural if you've already addressed it in your mind. Romans 12:2 says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Whose mind is it? Not your enemies, not the devil, your mind. And you belong to Jesus, that you may prove that which is good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. You need to be able to think clearly and prove. Good workers think in harmony. That means we don't all think the same, but God will send people into your life that will bring harmony. And if they're not getting you closer to Jesus, that's not harmony with God. You may say, but they were my friends. They were good. Let me tell you something. The only good thing comes from God. Bad workers bring noise and dissonance to your thought process. Let me say that again. Bad workers bring noise and dissonance, clashing, bad sound to your thought process. If you can't think straight, you can't build straight. Be careful. Not everyone is a good friend or a good co-laborer. Rebuilding a city is hard work, and Nehemiah had to rebuild a whole city. But really, Nehemiah's harder work was rebuilding the people that were going to help him rebuild the city. So rebuilding a city is hard work, especially with broken people who are comfortable in their brokenness. We all have areas of brokenness, but people who are comfortable in their brokenness. Don't apologize for doing a great work. Nehemiah 6:3, so that I sent messengers to them saying, I'm doing a great work, so I cannot come down to you. Recognize, number one, you're doing a great work. I want you to say that. I'm doing a great work. Standing up for God and doing what's right is a great work. I'm doing a great work in quality and in quantity. It's a big job in quantity to rebuild a city, to rebuild your family, to rebuild your mind, your finances. You're going to do a great job at it with God on your side in quality. So Nehemiah also responded, I cannot come down. How come he couldn't come down? He's rebuilding a city. He didn't have the energy. He was physically unable or weak. No, not at all. Recognize that your energy and your resources are assigned. All his energy, efforts, resources, focus, time, etc. were assigned to a specific project. You may have $1 million, but you don't have it in your budget to help people you're not called to help. Maybe I should teach that in another Bible study. You're not called to answer every invitation. You're not called to answer every text and phone call. You can't feed again every puppy. You can't help every cause. You have to live on assignment. The close, Nehemiah said, now it happened when the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall, that there were no breaks or no gaps. The enemy closes in when you start to close up the gaps. I'm telling you. The enemy always comes around when you start closing all the little gaps and areas in your life where he's been moving in. The rest of our enemies. Hey, listen, don't walk paranoid. Walk empowered in Jesus' name. Be encouraged and be strengthened. You have something to build. Keep building for Jesus. Don't let nothing distract you, destroy you, discourage you, but be encouraged. Even if you're uncomfortable, keep building because God is with you. God bless you.